How's it going, everyone? We've got some major updates regarding the future of Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Clair Obscur developing into a franchise, Expedition 33 potentially getting more post-launch content. I think this is in the works, and I've speculated on when I think it could be announced. I think there's one time where if they do have major DLC in the works, it would be a perfect spot to announce it, and if they are gonna port the game to Switch too. Any major announcements, there's one area and one place I think would be a great time, but we'll talk about that. Mr. Matty Plays had an interview and spoke with Expedition 33 director Brocha and talked about Expedition 33 and Clair Obscur as a franchise, noting Clair Obscur is the franchise name. Expedition 33 is one of the stories that we want to tell in this franchise. Exactly what it will look like and what the concept will be is still too soon to announce, but what is sure is that this is not the end of the Clair Obscur franchise. I know a lot of people wanted the other expeditions explored, not to get into too much of spoiler territory, and at this point most of you guys watching this video probably played the game, but Expedition 33 is just one of the expeditions in the story of Clair Obscur Expedition 33. The story of the game tells the experiences of Expedition 33, but there were expeditions that happened before them, and there are a lot of stories that they could tell within that. I think it would be difficult to figure out a full game around the other expeditions, especially because the ending would be, I mean, you could figure out what the ending would be with the other expeditions generally, given how Expedition 33's story goes, and Expedition 33 throughout the game does have like lore pieces of the other expeditions, but they're not grand in scale as far as explaining what happened with the other expeditions. I thought explaining the other expeditions or doing something with the other expedition might be something that DLC could handle. I think it would be difficult to do another game, but Clair Obscur as this IP, it could be something that it's like Final Fantasy, where Final Fantasy, it's not like Final Fantasy 16 is connected to Final Fantasy 15. It could be Clair Obscur and it's not Clair Obscur Expedition 0 or Expedition 45 or whatever the case may be. You know, it's just, it is what it is as far as Clair Obscur, and then a totally new subtitle that is a new experience in a new universe. I think that could be what they end up doing as well. But given how much steam this IP has, it would be foolish to drop it at this stage of the game. And at this point, I feel like Sandfall knows what people want out of them. Yes, can they evolve on the fundamental gameplay that they've developed? Yeah, absolutely, and I believe that they will, but ultimately I think there's a space for them to really craft the games that people desperately want, and an area that they have some competition in that area, but in terms of the turn-based games with these unique real-time mechanics and a little bit more of a Western aesthetic, not leaning on the Japanese and anime style of things, which, you know, I love me my Legend of Heroes. I'm never gonna be down on that, but I know for a lot of people, you know, as excited as I am for Trails in the Sky First Chapter, that's a game that they're not gonna, you know, touch with a 10-foot pole, but on the other hand, Expedition, because of its presentation style, Clair Obscur, I should say, that's an area that they could really craft for their own. Like, there aren't a lot of games and a lot of developers in that space, so I think they could do a lot of great work as far as, you know, having turn-based games, but at the same time having a different sort of aesthetic style than a Legend of Heroes, than some of the other games. Even Final Fantasy. If Final Fantasy decides to go back into turn-based, I still feel like Clair Obscur is gonna have its own thing, and you compare it to games like Octopath, etc., like, there aren't turn-based games, a lot of them, that have the aesthetic style and the presentation style that Clair Obscur does, so I think it makes a lot of sense for them to stick with it as an IP, and we'll see how they do evolve the gameplay. You know, I think they should stick with the turn-based style, just because if they're gonna put out a game every 4 or 5 years, it's not like we're gonna be inundated with a lot of turn-based games now just because Expedition 33 was a gigantic success and every developer is gonna jump into turn-based. I think there are gonna be more developers that realize that there are people that want turn-based games, but I don't think it's gonna be this explosion that, let's say, Souls-like was after the success of a lot of the From Software games. Also, speaking of which, Expedition 33, Broach did note, we may be cooking as far as post-launch content for Expedition 33. Reading between the tea leaves, it's obvious that they're working on something, whether it be a major free patch that adds some sort of new content. What I believe is it's going to be major DLC. I truly believe that this game has a good chance to win Game of the Year this year, and I think to go along with, at the very least, being nominated. It's going to get nominated for Game of the Year. I think saying it's going to win Game of the Year might be pushing the cart a little bit before the horse with Yote coming out. Battlefield 6, Metroid Prime, you know, there's a lot of big games still coming out this year, and then the games that already came out, Death Stranding 2, Donkey Kong Bonanza, Split Fiction, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. It's been a great year for gaming, but Expedition 33 to me is the Game of the Year, but at the very least, I believe it's going to get nominated. As far as new games go, it is the highest rated Metacritic title from Metacritic score of 2025 so far. Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, their Switch 2 editions do rate higher, but they're existing games, obviously. Expedition 33, as far as the new original games go, it's the highest rated at a 93, I believe it is, on Metacritic. So it's obviously going to be nominated for the Game of the Year. Whether or not it wins it remains to be seen, but could you imagine them getting nominated for Game of the Year? Game Awards always has a lot of big announcements, and they announce some sort of DLC, and then ultimately you could re-release the game again as a Game of the Year edition, a complete edition. You can put it on Nintendo Switch 2. I get that they're already doing printings of the game on Amazon and GameStop for the physical copies of the game. By the way, I'll leave a link to the Mirror Edition and the Lumiere Edition from Amazon and GameStop. Those editions look great for those of you that do want a physical copy. But to do DLC, how sizable it is, who knows, but you could also do a Game of the Year edition or a complete edition after the DLC comes out, port it to the Nintendo Switch 2. I just feel like with a game at this level, it's at such a high quality level that, first of all, people will double dip on it. Like, people bought the game digitally, they'll buy the game physically, they'll buy DLC, and obviously that is with the expectation that Sandfall is going to drop quality content, which I'm convinced that, and I'm confident that they are, but they'll buy DLC, people will buy the game on the Nintendo Switch 2 again, you know, to have it on a handheld. I really do believe that. I just think there's a lot of mileage you could get out of Expedition 33 as a game. Look, if Rockstar can monetize Grand Theft Auto 5 for like 1 billion years, I'm okay with Sandfall monetizing Expedition 33 for a little while, doing DLC, releasing it on different platforms, doing updates, etc., etc. Give me more of this world, because I think playing this game, it's an incredible game, and $50 will get you a good amount of content, but you can see that there's areas, hey, we could add a dungeon here. We could add a little bit of content there. There's more of the story that they can explain. They can expand upon the story, and whether, you know, the other expeditions would be a full-on new title or it would be DLC, I just think there's so much potential as far as doing a plethora of different content for Expedition 33, and I think you could even do more than one DLC. Given what this game has, you could do a DLC that's more so focused on a new dungeon and new content in the game that's strictly gameplay with the cast in Expedition 33. Then you could do another DLC that, hey, I'm not saying it'll be a 40, 50 hour long experience, but you could do a 10-hour, 15-hour DLC on a different expedition. I think that makes a lot of sense. Like, there's so many different avenues for them to go as far as creating new content for the game, and I think people would be all over all of that. I don't think it'll have the resurgence of interest like it did at launch. DLC generally doesn't do that, but I think there would be a lot of people that would check out new expedition content, and Clair Obscur sticking around as a franchise is going to be one of the major franchises going forward, I think, in all of gaming, and Expedition 33 looks like it'll be getting new content, and if I was a betting man and if I had it my way, I would announce it at the end of this year. By the end of this year, at the Game Awards, you would think that they would have some sort of idea in place as far as what it's going to be, and given that they say we may be cooking, Broach says we may be cooking, I imagine it's somewhat along at this stage of the game as well. But that is going to do it for me. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comments section down below. What would you like to see out of Expedition 33 in the future? As always, thank you for watching. Sound off down below. Lumiere Edition and the Mirror Edition, links to those in the description box below. If you buy the Mirror Edition from Amazon, we do get an affiliate kickback, so that is appreciated. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.